Imagine waking up, not in your bedroom, but 100,000 years ago. No house, no bed, no alarm clock, no electricity, no supermarket, no breakfast waiting in the kitchen. The moment you open your eyes, one question decides whether you live or die. Can I survive today? Every single day was a challenge. Finding food, finding clean water, avoiding dangerous predators, protecting your family, and hoping you would live long enough to see another sunrise. There were no weekends, no vacations, no shortcuts. From sunrise to sunset, almost every hour was spent solving one problem: survival. So what did an ancient human actually do from the moment they woke up until they went to sleep? Let's spend one entire day in their world and find out.
The day didn't begin with an alarm clock. It began with the sun. Long before cities, calendars, or even farming, early humans lived by nature's schedule. When the first light appeared on the horizon, it was time to wake up. But before anyone thought about food, there was something far more important: safety. The first few moments after waking could be dangerous. A hungry predator might still be nearby. A strange sound outside the shelter could mean trouble. Only after making sure the area was safe could the day truly begin. If there was still fire left from the night before, someone carefully fed it fresh wood to keep it alive. Starting over wasn't easy, so every glowing ember mattered. Next came water. Nearby rivers, streams, or small ponds were often the only reliable sources, but even getting a drink wasn't always safe. The same water attracted deer, wild boars, and dangerous predators. Then came breakfast. Not a cooked meal waiting on a table, but whatever nature offered that morning. Sweet berries, edible roots, nuts, insects, eggs from abandoned nests, or leftovers from the previous day's hunt. Some mornings, there was enough food. Some mornings, there was almost nothing. Unlike today, ancient humans never knew where their next meal would come from. Every sunrise brought the same question: would today be a lucky day or another fight for survival?
There was one job that mattered more than anything else. It was finding food. Ancient humans couldn't walk into a supermarket or open a refrigerator. Every meal had to be found, collected, or hunted. Many days began with searching for wild berries, edible roots, nuts, fruits, and honey. These foods were easier to find than large animals and often provided enough energy to keep the group moving. But plants alone weren't always enough. Meat was a valuable source of nutrition, and getting it was never easy. Small groups worked together to track animals across forests, grasslands, and riverbanks. They looked for footprints, broken branches, fresh droppings, and other tiny clues that revealed where animals had gone. Sometimes they caught rabbits, birds, or fish. Sometimes they hunted much larger animals, using simple wooden spears and careful teamwork. Every hunt carried risk. A single mistake could leave someone seriously injured. Large animals could fight back, and a failed hunt meant wasting precious energy with nothing to show for it. Success depended on patience, experience, and cooperation. Nobody survived alone for very long. When food was finally found, it wasn't kept by one person. It was usually shared with the rest of the group, helping children, older members, and injured individuals survive as well. Finding food wasn't just another daily task. It was the difference between living another day or going to sleep hungry, hoping tomorrow would be better.
Finding food wasn't the only job that filled the day. Even after eating, there was always more work to do. Stone tools became dull with use, so they had to be repaired or replaced. Sharp flakes of stone were carefully shaped into cutting tools, scrapers, and spear points. These simple tools made almost every other task easier. Shelters also needed constant attention. Branches had to be replaced. Animal hides had to be tied down again. Strong winds and heavy rain could damage a shelter in just a single night. Firewood had to be collected before sunset. A warm fire meant cooked food, protection from predators, and light after dark. Without enough wood, the night could become cold, dangerous, and uncomfortable. Water also had to be carried back to camp whenever possible. Children weren't sitting in classrooms. They learned by watching. They watched adults make tools, track animals, prepare food, and recognize which plants were safe to eat. Every lesson came from experience, not books. Knowledge was one of the group's greatest tools. A child who learned how to find water, avoid dangerous animals, or make a sharp spear had a much better chance of surviving adulthood. Every day became another lesson. Every mistake could be dangerous, and every new skill made the next day just a little easier than the last.
As the sun climbed higher, it was often time for the most dangerous part of the day, the hunt. This wasn't about chasing animals as fast as possible. It was about patience, planning, and teamwork. Before moving, the group carefully searched for signs of nearby animals. Fresh footprints in the dirt, broken branches, disturbed grass, or tracks leading toward a river could all reveal where an animal had gone. Once they found a trail, everyone had a role. Some quietly followed the animal from behind. Others moved ahead to cut off its escape. Communication was simple, using hand signals, eye contact, and experience rather than spoken instructions. The goal was to get close enough to throw a wooden spear with accuracy. But hunting was never guaranteed to succeed. An animal could notice the hunters and run away in seconds. A missed spear meant the entire chase might be over. Sometimes the hunters returned to camp with nothing after spending hours tracking their prey. And when they did succeed, the work wasn't finished. The animal had to be carefully prepared, and every useful part was valuable. Meat became food, bones could become tools, hides could become clothing or shelter coverings. Very little was wasted. For ancient humans, hunting wasn't a sport or a hobby. It was one of the hardest and most important jobs of everyday life. Every successful hunt meant another chance for the group to survive together. As the sun began to set, the group slowly returned to camp. If the hunt had been successful, everyone benefited. Food wasn't prepared for just one person. It was shared with the entire group. Children, older members, and anyone who couldn't hunt still needed to eat. The fire became the center of camp once again. Meat was cooked over the flames. Roots and other gathered foods were warmed whenever possible. Cooking made many foods easier to chew and digest, while also making some foods safer to eat. After eating, the work didn't stop completely. Broken spears were repaired. Stone tools were sharpened. New wooden shafts were prepared for the next day's hunt. This was also a time for learning. Younger members watched carefully as older, more experienced hunters demonstrated how to shape stone, prepare food, or repair tools. Skills were passed from one generation to the next through observation and practice. As darkness spread across the landscape, the fire gave the group something just as valuable as warmth. It gave them light. Beyond the edge of the campfire waited darkness filled with unknown sounds and dangerous predators. But inside the circle of light, the group could finally rest together.
As darkness covered the land, the world became a very different place. Without streetlights or secure homes, night belonged to predators. The campfire burned steadily at the center of the shelter, providing warmth, light, and a small sense of safety. But everyone knew the fire couldn't protect them from every danger. Beyond its glow, the darkness was full of unknown sounds. A distant howl, the snap of a branch, heavy footsteps somewhere beyond the trees. Every sound demanded attention. Some members of the group stayed awake a little longer, making sure the fire didn't die and watching for anything unusual. A single mistake could put everyone in danger. Eventually, one by one, they lay down to sleep. Not on soft beds, not with locked doors, just on animal hides, dried grass, or leaves, surrounded by the people they trusted most. Tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. Another hunt, another search for food and water, another fight to survive. And yet, they slept. Because after a day filled with danger, hard work, and uncertainty, there was only one thing left to do. Close their eyes, rest while they could, and hope to wake up with the next sunrise, ready to do it all again.
So, what did ancient humans actually do all day? The answer is surprisingly simple. They survived. From the moment they opened their eyes until the moment they fell asleep, nearly every decision revolved around one question. How do we stay alive until tomorrow? Finding food, searching for clean water, keeping the fire burning, making tools, protecting children, avoiding predators, repairing shelters, learning new skills, sharing food with the group. It wasn't an adventure. It wasn't a choice. It was simply life. Today, we wake up and check our phones,
Our ancestors woke up and checked the horizon. We worry about deadlines. They worried about whether they would eat that day. We flip a switch for light. They protected a single flame because losing it could change everything. Yet despite living in a world filled with danger, they achieved something extraordinary. They adapted. They learned. They worked together. And step by step, generation after generation, they built the foundation for everything we have today. In many ways, every modern city, every invention, and every piece of technology can trace its story back to those ordinary days of survival. Because before humanity could build civilizations, it first had to survive another sunrise. And if this journey into the daily life of our ancient ancestors changed the way you see human history, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter of our story.